Alright, so the 2.8 drip marketing featuring both Chisa and Wuthering is now over, and with Wuthering already covered, it is finally time to talk about everyone's favorite Night Raid member, Chisa. So Chisa is our next upcoming 5-star unit, and actually also the very last 5-star for 2.x, and already has all kinds of different dramas due to her different kit leaks, which I will try to mention as little as possible. But starting off, Chisa is a Havoc character who, when you sit down and read the description of the new Leviathan Forecast deco, is clearly built around Havoc Bane, which is the Havoc debuff effect, which has so far not been introduced to the game via playable characters. And if you watched me for a longer time and have watched a variety of my Wuthering Waves content, you actually know that I absolutely hate the entire debuff system and think it needs to be forgotten. Not because debuff related playstyles are bad, but more so because to me, Kuro has proven that they, at the moment at least, are not skilled enough to introduce actual debuff based characters. Instead of debuffs feeling like a unique playstyle compared to classic 1.x DPS units like, you would expect a dot unit in HSR to feel like, they just feel like every single DPS ever, with the only difference being that they now have some sort of severe kit restriction, which can only be lifted by applying the debuff. An example being both Zani and Peeps' overall damage multipliers being dogshit if you cannot apply enough Spectrofrazzle beforehand. They are not actual Spectrofrazzle debuff based DPS, they're just normal average crit DPS characters who need Spectrofrazzle stacks on the enemies to actually work in the first place. Which, to me at least, makes the entire debuff mechanic and entire thing around debuffs feel bad instead of, unique and exciting. And because of this, I have the firm opinion that Kuro should just scrap this team archetype entirely, and if they really want to, return back to it in a year or two after more game experience with, more team archetypes, and actually try to create real debuff based characters who actually actively play around those debuffs. Now, Chisa being our first Havoc Bane character means multiple things. Starting off, no matter what she ends up being, she's not actually a hyper carry main DPS, but more so a Havoc Bane applier, who will, at max, have decent sub DPS capabilities like Chachona for example. But you will not get a scissor wielding Akame unfortunately, which, already covers a big part of the entire Chisa drama, because with her design, who would have guessed, people obviously want her to be just your classic average main DPS. Now, the two interesting things that I want to talk about are both her role, but also her recommended teams. So, starting off, Chisa's role as a Havoc Bane debuff applier leaves us with the pretty big question: are we getting a Havoc Bane based DPS in early 3.x? Like, a Scar or a Gishulin? And I mean, it's possible of course, but I hope it's not, simply because I hate this team archetype. But funnily enough, despite them rerunning with her, Frolova and Cantarella don't seem to be Chisa's real teammates, as the current recommended teams for Chisa are actually Zani Peep Chisa and Katefia Chachona Chisa, which leaves me pondering my head. All recommended Chisa teams are the debuff based teams where Chisa just takes in the spot that Rover would normally, with, Spectra Rover Zani Peep being Team A and Katefia Chachona Aero Rover being Team B. And at this point, it leaves me wondering, is Kuro planning to go the route that HSR did, which is to continue making the MC an integral unit to meta teams and the meta game in general, and make Chisa just a replacement so that you can use the new 3.x rover element without making your Zani and Katefia team useless, in the same way Break, for example, got Fugue right before we got RMC in HSR. If that's the case, then I really wonder what the idea behind Havoc Bane is, instead of her just being a Spectrofrazzle Aero Erosion unit. But who knows, maybe it will be a situation similar to Chachona, where Chisa can basically choose which debuff she wants to apply, or can even convert one debuff into another one, for example. In totality, I just want to say that I am scared, because in my opinion so far, nothing good ever comes from debuff units. But who knows, maybe Chisa will be the great turning point that will make me change my opinion on this team archetype and let me give Kuro another chance in the future with debuff based teams. But with all that being said, that's going to be all from me. Let me know what you think about Chisa. Would you be mad about her being a more supportive unit instead of a main DPS, or are you fine with it? Consider liking and subscribing if you haven't already and enjoyed this video, and I will hopefully see you in the next one.